You just eliminated 99.999% of all game developers ever because these are operations that they don't have and that they don't want to have.
Yeah.
So what we're doing instead is giving the same incentive to the players who just want a token for a token that they know and they care about. And then the developer does 5 minutes of work instead of 5 months of work. Okay. We're taking something that works here and something that works here and we're making a baby. All right. It's this idea doesn't exist in its full form, but this is extremely proven and this is extremely proven.
Okay. All right, and we are here with Justin Waldron, founder of Open Game Protocol. How you doing, sir?
Yeah, excited to be here.
Thanks for joining.
Thanks for having
me. My co-host David here has interviewed you before, but just for the sake of our audience, could you refresh us? What is Open Game Protocol? What problem does it solve?
Yeah, sure, of course. So at Open Game Protocol, what we're doing is allowing any game to reward any token. So right now, Web3 gaming has been focused on games creating their own new assets. What we're doing is taking the assets people already love, something like a fart coin, and letting games reward a fart coin.
Fart coin in the game. I love it.
Yeah, well, fart coin game ecosystem. It's bigger than just one game. There could be hundreds of fart coin games.
Okay. Didn't see that coming, but
sorry.
Game ecosystem. Yeah, so can you walk us through, we talked about this last time, have there been any ecosystems that have sprung up around some of these big game coins?
Yeah.
Thing?
Yeah, exactly. So what we've seen with these coins in general, just tokens in general, is like X has been a huge part of it because people want to create content to keep the token getting attention. And actually, the interesting thing is you can create images and video or any other forms of media, but games are actually a form of media where the person could receive a token at the end. So the amazing thing that you could do is instead of just sharing GIFs and videos to popularize a token, you could actually have somebody interact with the media and receive the token. So this solves a distribution problem for these token communities. So we see it as like another part of the strategy of how a token expands its influence. So you think about something like a Trump coin, right? Trump coin on Solana has only 650,000 holders. That's really small. From a perspective of like an app on mobile or any consumer internet or game, that's a very, very, very small community. But how much more interesting would it be if there were 6 million Trump holders? That's not that far off. What's stopping us from getting there is we need a way to distribute these tokens to those people in a way where they understand what the Trump token is. And so what we're really doing is solving that problem for the token communities, which they're already very focused on through other forms of media. And then for the game developers, they want to get in front of players, new players to play their game. They have a lot of ways of making money. Games already spend $100 billion on ads every single year on mobile. So they'd much rather have other ways to access users for cheaper than spending $3 or $5 on Facebook ad.
It almost,
I was just to wrap my head around this. So you've got a token that you want to get distribution, help people to learn about your token. And you're saying that one way to do that is by having that token distributed in a game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And here's the problem. Like right now, for a game developer to do anything in Web3 requires having engineers that understand how to do smart contract programming. We've already seen how that's worked out, right? It's been a tough 8 years for GameFi. I've been involved with a lot of these projects since the earliest days, like Dapper Labs, CryptoKitties, Decentralized, Immutable. There's lots of interesting things happening, but we've been asking engineers and game creators to become Web3 developers. What we're doing is something more like, you can think of it, Stripe. What they did for payments, we're doing for game developers. They don't need to learn how a token works or how Web3 works. They're actually just providing these rewards to their players. And the players don't need to understand how Web3 works. So we're expanding the market. I guess the best example would be what Privy did for wallet creation and management. They basically made it so that anyone could log in with a Web2 login and easily have a non-custodial wallet. And we saw that with a lot of products that made them more mass market. That solved the developer problem than the user problem. We're going to do that for games.
It's difficult to wrap your mind around. And this is the second time I've talked to you.
Yeah.
I don't know if I fully understand.
Yeah.
So let me look at it from a different perspective. So you have, I would say, at least three groups that are interested in maybe this program.
Yeah.
You have game developers.
Yeah.
And they want to make a good product.
Yeah.
They want to use crypto, have access to an audience. You have uh, like active meme coin communities.
Yep.
Right. As you said, they want to keep the community active, engaged in the
And relevant.
yeah, IP, and then make it relevant.
Yep.
And then you have what I would say end users or game users.
Yeah. Players.
Right? They want to have a fun experience, and then also maybe be rewarded for it. They want to maybe participate in some of this meme culture that they see online all the time.
Yeah, sure.
And are those the three kind of groups that are involved in this product?
Yeah, exactly. You can almost think of it like, we don't describe it this way, but you think about an ad network, right? You have websites with a lot of traffic, and you have Google, who's built an ad network, and then you have advertisers who want to actually reach the users that these websites are reaching. And so Google had to build a technology to allow these advertisers to spend money with Google to get access to relevant users on these different websites, solving the monetization problem for the website, right? And solving the discovery problem for the advertiser. So what we're doing is, games already have the largest ad spend out of any category in consumer internet. We spend 100 million a year on ads. In fact, like, most of Facebook's ad revenue comes from games.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, and in fact, it was even more. When my company went public in 2011, we were in the S1 as a risk, because we were like over 80% of all of Facebook's revenue at the time, just for Zynga ads, our one company. But now that's come down, but it's still over 50% as far as I know. Not from my company anymore, but the whole industry. And so what we're really doing is just saying, game distribution is one of the biggest businesses ever. There's a company called AppLovin. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of it. It's a $150 billion public company. They just do games advertising. Okay. So like, how big is this opportunity in crypto to distribute games through crypto? No one's doing this at all yet. Everyone's focused on the game production side. We're focused on game distribution. And I don't want to compare us to an ad network, because there's some differences, but it's the same idea in the sense, like you said, there's a few different actors here. We have tokens that people want. They've heard of it. Trump token has 650,000 holders. It probably has 60 million people who kind of know what it is and who would want it if they could easily get it and have a fun experience to get it. And then you have wallets where the users are actually playing with these tokens all day. They're buying and selling and swapping and staking these tokens across different wallets, but they don't have access to play games that are relevant to these tokens yet, right?
Wow.
So we're also making that possible. We can be the play button for any token. That's something that's obvious once you think about it. Why isn't there a play button for every token? No one's built that protocol yet. That's what we're doing.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. If you're a game, you're a game developer. You've released this game,
yeah.
And normally to get distribution, you would pay a ton of money for advertising.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're saying that one method of paying for advertising, a new novel method for paying advertising, might be that they would buy some Trump token and distribute Trump tokens to their game players.
Yeah. So now you're starting to understand. So what we do is create a new token that's related to these existing tokens. And that new token is what we call a game coin. And that game coin governs how the rewards for the other token actually get distributed. And so instead of trying to create a game currency that people use in these games, which has proven to be very difficult, to say the least,
Very, very difficult.
We are ignoring that. We're saying, no, there's 100 billion a year of demand for ads in games, for distribution. That's plenty of demand. We don't need, in the game developers, they know how to earn money through advertising and through in-app purchases. They already have subscriptions. They have all the tools they need to make money. What they need is more distribution and cheaper distribution. And then they can redirect the $10 million they're spending this year on ads. Maybe they put $1 million into one of these game coins, stake it, vote for their game to get more rewards to their game, which gets more users to come earn the tokens in their game. So you can think of this as like a marketplace for people to distribute rewards without the communities having to fund anything. The communities are excited about it because there's no marketing spent on their side, right? It's mutually beneficial.
I'm still confused. The game token. Okay, so let's get the Space Invaders game.
Yeah.
All right. And
What a good.
Yeah.
sorry, it's fine. All right. Okay. Switch it to Tetris. And I want more players for my game. Normally, I would take out an ad somewhere, come play this game. Now I can get this game token. And how do people find the game token?
Great question. Yeah, I mean, so these game coins that are associated with each of these existing tokens, a community can decide to launch one. So imagine Fartcoin community decides to launch the Fartcoin game coin.
Okay.
Now traders can speculate on how big could the Fartcoin game ecosystem be.
Yeah.
Maybe they think Fartcoin game ecosystem could be big.
Yeah.
Maybe they think it's not so big.
Yeah.
But this is a new asset that they can speculate on. The trading fees that are happening on this game coin can go to fund some of the rewards, and a portion of this token that gets launched is set aside for rewarding developers who make Fartcoin games so they can earn even without spending money. Also, it goes to players. It gets swapped for the original Fartcoin. So it's putting buy pressure on the original asset. So the reason a Fartcoin community would want to launch something like this is not just to distribute the token, but also that it creates more buy pressure on their asset. And the people who play a part in launching it, they stake their Fartcoin to launch this game coin, and then they get their Fartcoin back. Of course, they actually get a big chunk of the supply of the game coin. So they also have that incentive to be launching these game coins. And then game developers can launch many games for Fartcoin. And based on the amount of engagement they're contributing to the token, they earn more. And then if they want to take the game coin they're earning and stake them against their game, they can increase the amount of rewards they receive, which is a way of dialing up the traffic, the amount of users they're receiving. So they're earning a yield by staking. Instead of paying $3 to $5 to Facebook to get a user, they're getting paid to get users, right? So it's not just 10% or 20% better. They're potentially actually earning money while they're getting users. Okay. Yeah. Very, it sounds like anti-gravity, but like the idea here is that all that money just goes straight to Facebook, right?
Right.
And the idea is like, it could be going to buy pressure on a token community where everyone's incentivized and it's getting priced based on what it's worth.
Are there any real world examples of this so far where a game developer has used this and it's working?
Yeah. So the real world example here of like, do tokens attract players to games was what happened already with Telegram, right? So last summer, we built one of the top games on Telegram. We had almost 30 million users play it. They wanted to get the token. And we said, wait a second. They take all this risk on playing this game to farm points for 6 months. And then we played a lot of these Telegram games. And we noticed a bunch of them never even released a token. We said, this is a terrible experience for these people. So you had Hamster Combat, that had 300 million users. So that's massive. And in the game industry, if you get 300 million users on mobile, it's game over. There's no game in the last probably 5 years that's come close to getting 300 million users. I mean, even in China, like companies are barely hitting those sort of numbers. Hamster Combat on Telegram did it a year ago. Crypto shrugged. We were like, oh, 300 million users. That's crazy. Yeah. So the game developers over here salivating at the idea of having those kind of user numbers, right? But the problem is none of these game teams want to launch their own token. And none of the traders, or many of the traders, aren't interested in trading these game tokens. So what if they didn't have to? What if we could create ecosystems on the assets that people already like? Fartcoin is one example, but it could be anything, right? So there's no reason you can't create a game ecosystem for Jupiter, which is a top token on Solana, right? Or anything else. That's kind of the way we see it.
So these game tokens are kind of like derivatives. Of the I guess the original.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah, but they're connected in a way that's guaranteed when they're launched. So the idea is like you're taking the launchpad model that we've seen succeed with like Pump.Fun. And the question we ask ourselves is like, holy shit, $1 billion is a lot of money for them to make over the course of a year. What if revenue? What if half of those fees went to something else? And so the current thinking for a lot of people is like, well, just buy back the token, right? And that's one interesting way to add value back to token holders. But there are many other interesting ways you could add value back into these ecosystems. So for us, it's like you could be paying developers, you could be paying players. And then if the narrative of an ecosystem token is that Fartcoin game ecosystem is big, it actually creates a reflexive flywheel where the bigger the token gets, the more rewards there are, the more developers build games for Fartcoin, the more players earn, and the more it becomes true, right? This is the kind of tokenomics that we can create embedded in the launchpad. So that's the advantage for these communities.
Right.
Okay, so you described a theoretical example, but are there any actual?
Yeah, so the Telegram games, they're not theoretical, right? We got 30 million users in our game last year. And what we noticed was this model works. What it doesn't work is the token distribution piece. And so when it came time, if it's like, okay, good, you built the game for 6 months, now time to go through TGE and list with the exchanges and go through like all the work required for that. You just eliminated 99.999% of all game developers ever, because these are operations that they don't have, and that they don't want to have. So what we're doing instead is giving the same incentive to the players who just want a token for a token that they know and they care about. And then the developer does 5 minutes of work instead of 5 months of work. Okay. We're taking something that works here and something that works here, and we're making a baby. All right. It's this idea doesn't exist in its full form, but this is extremely proven. And this is extremely proven.
Okay.
Matching together.
So you're quite confident that it's about a developer, or many developers are about to realize this and make it happen. And we're going to
our assumptions are developers need distribution, and we see $100 billion a year being spent on that. So we feel pretty confident about that. That players like earning tokens, and we saw like 500 million users farming game tokens on Telegram last year. So we believe in that, and that traders like trading new types of assets where they feel like they can have an advantage, and that we can use those trading fees to fund some of this ecosystem. We feel like those are all like fairly, well proven sort of pieces that are worth betting on. But of course, like it's a new ecosystem for sure. We like to think about like virtuals. Earlier this year, they took the Launchpad model and they created AI agents, right? That was a new thing that didn't exist before. They said, what if we took these trading fees and we put them into something else? Now, the jury's still out on AI agents. But like that idea that we can be using these launchpads to create new types of assets with tokenomics built into them that are interesting is something that we think is super worth exploring.
Okay, so with virtuals, the protocol takes a bit of a cut. Is it the same sort of model with?
Exactly. Or something like a Believe, right? Believe has been one of the top launchpads on Solana, and they kind of created a new asset class. They had meme coins for companies, where 1% fees went to the protocol and 1% fees went to the company that launched the coin. And traders liked it because the companies didn't hold the supply of the coin, so traders didn't have to worry about getting dumped on. Companies liked it because they raised money in a way where they didn't have to deal with a lot of the headaches of launching their own token. It was more like just meme coin, right? So our insight is there's going to be a lot of those. And games is like one of the biggest possible categories, and distribution is the problem in games that matters.
So the game devs don't really have to. The games don't have to be connected to the coin really at all.
Yeah, I mean,
so I guess they're gonna have to figure out what works best.
Well, so like the game coins become a governance token for the community to decide what types of games should have rewards.
I see.
And so if you're a player, you just want Farcoin. Like, you don't even know what Farcoin game coin is, right? You never heard of it. You're in a wallet app and you see Farcoin and you're saying, I'm going to hit the play button. And now you're playing these Farcoin games and they're giving you Farcoin. You have no idea what's happening behind. So the whole insight here is like when you use an ad network or when you tap on an ad, you have no clue. Like, is Google doing that? Is it, there's like hundreds of companies in this space. You don't even know what you're looking at, right? It doesn't matter. We're in the background. We're facilitating all that stuff. And the main purpose of what we're doing is just to get these games in front of people. Some of them will be very relevant probably to the tokens. We already have, by the way, like there's a lot of interest in this. So from our end on the developer side, we have the communities, we're pre-launch, but like there are many dozens of games for Farcoin already. I'll put it that way. There are many dozens of games from many top tokens of Solana, and these people are very excited about launching. So we're not going to come out. We don't need to convince these developers to build a token economy around their game. All they need to do is add this token reward in their game. It's something that takes them 5 minutes. So the bar is low. And so it's not like a lot of other projects where it's a much longer drawn out conversation of how to integrate the game partner.
And then you need, to make it even easier or more accessible, you need some of the leading wallets to be on board.
Yeah.
So that they can press and play
in
their UI UX. And I imagine they're salivating too, because it's a way for them to maybe keep engagement within the wallet.
And it solves a lot of problems. I mean, like anyone who runs a wallet business will tell you one of the toughest things is this cold start problem. So you get an install and the person doesn't have any crypto. And then to get crypto, you need to KYC.
Yes.
If you can solve that problem and start loading up their wallet, the biggest difference for them is activation. Can you get someone to actually get some crypto? Once they get crypto, they stay. They start watching the price. The first thing they want to do is watch the price, right?
Yeah, they sell it for some other crypto.
Exactly. Okay. They start swapping. They do all the other things that make wallets money.
KYC things.
It's a very, very big problem for wallets. There's a number of reasons that they would want this. But that's one of them. The other is of course, when they refer the traffic, they also receive some of the value on the token side. So this is almost like an ad network. And as you guys know, most wallets don't really want to put ads inside their product. They want to have a premium product with users who don't want to see banner ads, right? But a play button is kind of interesting, and it doesn't feel like an ad. You're showing relevant content to the tokens, and it's another button, just like they have for news and everything else that's on a token page. It's a natural fit.
New form of advertising. And
Yeah.
so Open Game Protocol is on Solana.
Yeah, it's launching on Solana, but it's going to be multi-chain for sure.
But why Solana?
Why Solana? I think Solana has one of the most interesting token community growth right now, so that's why we're focused on it. And we have a lot of really great partners with some top tokens that'll be showing up soon.
Do you think this new meta, this new paradigm might be the next big narrative for Solana, like perhaps or enforcing meme coins, or
I mean, we are.
yeah.
It would be great, right? I wouldn't mind. But look, for us, like the sort of internet capital markets meta that's been playing out on Solana, it's already a thing, right? And there's a lot of experimentation happening, and we just think it's one of the most interesting places to be experimenting. We think the business model works. I think these companies make enough revenue on the trading fees to actually grow their business and have a sustainable business. And I think the trick is, how do you actually carve something out that can last and not just get eaten away by competition? And I think there's been a set of many launch pads that are kind of doing the same thing with like very slightly different fee mechanisms. And that's interesting. But what we've seen is like people don't really care. Network effects are strong, right? Pump.fun is going to be hard to displace. They have all the traders, they have all the liquidity. Our sense is when you carve out a new type of asset, that's where there's going to be probably many categories. And what meme coin showed is that this method of attracting capital and attention to something works. And the next step is like, well, what can you do with that?
Yeah, exactly.
$1 billion is a shit ton of money every year for Pump.fun to have made. And everyone's wondering, like, what are they going to do with it? They deserve it, whatever, they keep it. But like, I think that kind of money can do all sorts of really interesting things if it starts going back into the flywheel of each token that's created on a platform. And that doesn't mean just paying directly the people who made the meme coin. There's a lot being tried there too. But there's probably things you can build in at the app and protocol layer that give guarantees that let people do interesting things with these. So for us, like, I don't know if games are the thing, but like certainly that's one of the big themes for the year.
Yeah. Would that mean, so it almost sounds like that your biggest competitors would be something like a Pump.fun?
I think we can partner with everybody because like why not launch a game coin for the best Pump.fun tokens, right? Fartcoin was launched on Pump.fun, I think, right?
But don't you become kind of a launchpad yourself? Oh.
Yeah, but we're not really interested in going after meme coins. Like we just want to launch game coins for assets that are already out there, right? So for us, it's like, let's partner with teams that were the ones who deployed a token. Let's partner with teams that they're not a meme coin. They're like a Jupiter or somebody like this, right? Let's partner with the launchpads themselves to add a button so that anybody can launch a game coin from their site. We think that what we're doing is so different, and it's its own. We carved out our own lane, right? So we don't feel like we're competitive with them. In fact, like I think we could grow their volume. I think if we did a really great job at this, actually the opposite thing could happen, which is suddenly people are like, wait a second, there is a really interesting thing because utility can be added to these tokens after the fact, permissionlessly by other developers who see opportunities. And maybe games is just one thing if people see this, but it turns out there's a lot more. And then you start looking at Fartcoin, you're like, wait a second, there's a lot of stuff people can do this that I didn't imagine 6 months ago.
Yeah, I mean, I can imagine that something like this could actually like revitalize the meme coin meta. Like
Totally. Totally good. Yeah.
If suddenly there's a bunch of games that integrate Fartcoin in some way,
yeah,
and then it spreads the mind share of Fartcoin.
Absolutely. And not just individual coins, but the whole meta could be like, well, we can add utility after the fact, and there's a totally new way of thinking about how we price these coins, right?
Yeah, I mean, I see that too. I just wonder, like, why wouldn't Pump.fun take their billion and maybe try to replicate what you're doing and to keep it all under one?
Yeah, maybe they should. I mean, like, I don't, like you said, it's not proven yet, right? So I can answer why they're not doing it now. But if it works, yeah, I mean, I'm sure they'll think about it. Like from our perspective, I think what they're doing is pretty meaty. And they've been doing all this other work to build like a vertical business with streaming and everything else. Like my sense is there's a lot of room. There's a lot of white space, there's a ton of white space. And we're just like really narrowly focused on our lane, which we feel like is a very valuable lane that could assist all these other token companies. So yeah, we're not worried about it.
Yeah, cool. And yeah, definitely just to echo what you guys are both saying. I mean, I participated in the meme coin shenanigans earlier this year. I know you did.
Yeah.
And then you see things like the latecomers like the Easy coin.
Yeah.
And it's just like straight up and down.
Yes.
And then nothing.
I know.
Forever.
I know.
So as we've talked about, it's the meme coin meta has kind of turned into like just all that attention focus in the first like what 12 to 15 hours.
Yeah.
And then wiped from existence.
Yeah.
Forever. And that is just not sustainable.
I agree.
It has to change.
Yeah, I agree. And you got to deliver too, right? We have seen ideas that have taken off maybe before they were ready. So without like pointing to any particular ideas, like there was a frenzy around AI agents and like there's probably something there. We all kind of know there's something there, but it might take some time, and price got ahead of itself maybe a little bit. And for us, like we're saying, well, what if we come out day one and like that the product actually works, and we're not telling you to sit back and wait 3 months, because we know that the space is it's not patient, right? There's a lot of places to move your liquidity around if you're excited about something. So we have to earn it, right? And the communities have to earn it. So we've got to have something that actually works.
What's the timeline? When is this coming out?
We're hoping in the next couple of weeks, actually.
Wow,
yeah,
really?
Yeah, very soon.
Nice.
Yeah.
So when you do launch, what metrics will you be looking at to determine whether it's working?
I mean, I think like another launchpad, volume is very important. But for us, it's not just a measure of like how much revenue the protocol could potentially have, but also like how much value we're giving back to the developers and to the players, right? Because we're taking 1% of all the trading volume and it's going back to game developers and to players. So if we can actually get a token to trade well and traders are excited about it, then that creates the flywheel that starts to get game developers and players in. And that becomes the reflexivity that I talked about before, where now the game developers who are earning this game coin are saying, I'm going to stake this back on my own game because this just made me money and I want to make more money. I want to get more users. They're becoming long-term holders. So the traders get the momentum going, and then the people who are there for the utility, the distribution, start, really taking over and become the majority holder base over time.
Yeah, that's awesome. So again, not to beat a dead horse here, but I can imagine something like that. I've got my wallet. I see an Easy coin is there. It's going well. I press play, and then I could have a game, for example, like Games.com. That's really
anything.
Right. Or I don't know, maybe some Dance.
Yeah. Easy game. Anything.
Yeah. Anything. Right. And it's a good game, and it does well. It gets traction because it's a fun game, and I'm getting easy rewards.
Yeah.
Like token rewards.
It's the reason it got your attention in the first place. So, what we don't think is that everyone's going to make a living on playing all these games.
Right.
I think we already ran that. We ran that experiment.
Play to earn.
Yeah, we ran that experiment, right?
Yeah.
But in an ad, you see something you like and you tap on it, and then next thing you know, you're playing the game, and it's not because of the ad after 5 minutes. That was just the thing that got you there, right?
Right. Yeah.
So maybe some people will come back, and maybe some developers will come up with some interesting incentives that keep people. They steer them in certain directions in the game. That could be useful. It's more than just acquisition. It's also re-engagement and incentivizing people to do certain things in the game.
Yeah. It also, like, I can imagine it allows developers to, in some way, sustainably upgrade the game over time.
For sure.
Right? Because if the game is doing really well and they're getting revenue from it, then they're also incentivized to like maybe release version 2. And, just keep it going.
Yeah. And by the way, like the broader idea here, and I know this is like, if you've been following what's been happening with Epic and Apple, how much? Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for us in games, this is like very, very personal. Okay. It's a super personal thing. It's been a huge, huge problem. I know not everyone in crypto is thinking about this problem as much, but the app stores are huge. Can you just
can you explain that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the app stores are a huge monopoly, and this has been playing out for the last 15 years. A lot of people are happy with their iPhone, and so they don't think about it that much. But 30% is a very, very high amount for Apple to be taking. And actually, what a lot of people don't realize is you don't really get much for that 30%. Apple's argued to be distribution, but Apple doesn't provide any distribution. All the distribution comes from the ad networks. So this 30% is really, it's just a tax for, because they have a monopoly on people's engagement and distribution of downloading the app and using it. And so what we really hope happens in the long run is like crypto, if we all work together, it's a collective action problem. We could build something, just like Bitcoin solved the problem of, hey, we don't like the way that the government prints money. And we think that if we all work together, we could have a better system, but it required mass coordination through incentives, right? We're saying we don't think the solution is to create an alternate app store. We think that the solution is to create a completely distributed distribution for each of these token communities so that we can have an alternative form of getting content into people's hands. And so what we're really trying to do is create like an escape route for everybody. Because we think that the existing system is like, we can't just rely on the legal system and antitrust cases from the US government to go after Apple to fix this problem. We don't think it's going to change until it's actually disrupted.
So are you saying that somehow people will be downloading their games on mobile, but not via the App Store?
So yeah, depending on the region, this is like a non-crypto topic. Depending on the region, these laws have already passed. Alternative app stores are now possible in Europe. A lot of people suspect that the US may be going the same direction soon, and the rest of the world is also considering it. It's been a multi-year case. It's been happening. So to answer your question, yes. And also,
so regulators in certain regions are going to force Apple to allow apps to be to get installed on the phone, not via the app.
It's already happening.
Okay.
It's already happening.
It's already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening. Yeah, so that's, and also web has a lot of potential, but what a lot of people don't know about web games and why they've never really gotten huge on mobile is because Apple does not allow you to monetize a web game inside of another app. So Facebook has their own platform in Messenger where you can play Facebook games. And people, a lot of users use this, but actually you're not allowed to process a payment inside of that. And the reason is just because Apple knows that if Facebook can process payments, that this will be bigger than the App Store. And when you go to buy your phone next time, they'll say, well, I don't have all these apps that I need on my iOS. They all live inside of my Facebook app or my Instagram app. So if I get an Android, it's like no difference. Everything I'm using is within their app. So the OS is not really a big deal to me. So they insist and they don't allow microtransactions in those, even though you're looking at a web page. Apple has jurisdiction over apps, but within an app, there's a web browser, and they're telling you, Facebook, those literally these websites that are being accessed inside of your app cannot process transactions, or we will turn off your app.
Yeah.
So Facebook has a contract with Apple, right?
Yeah.
But these websites don't have a contract with Apple. So this is where the antitrust cases are coming in.
Okay, that seems dystopian. And how can you walk through again how you talked about like a collective action? How could
So what we need to solve the problem for all of us is what are the incentives? We have all these crypto wallets that are everywhere. We have distribution, right? But no one's figured out a way to direct that toward what we could be value for the game developers and for and like the participants that are involved in this, like players, right? And we know ad networks work. And we know that play to earn works the way to track players and alternative to ad networks. But what we need to do is coordinate these pieces. So in the case of Bitcoin, it was like you need electricity and mining rigs to actually make the network work. Well, we got to pay those people. In this case, we have to pay the actors in this ecosystem, like wallets, who already have a lot of users, or others. It could be Bitcoin.com. Like, why not have games on Bitcoin.com or any site where you go a deck screener or anything where you go check information about a token? Why not just have a play button and just make some extra money and share this distribution together? We can build a distribution network that rivals these other companies.
So like a decentralized app store.
Yeah. And but this at the center of it is these tokens. At the center of everything in crypto has always been tokens. It's not the other way around. Every time we do it the other way, we struggle. But every time we make the token the focus, and then everything is orbiting around the token, it seems to work, right? When you go on every wallet, when you go on every website, it's always the same. You want to read stories about Bitcoin. You want to read stories about ETH. You want to do things related to ETH. So what we're saying is, why not games? It's like one of the biggest businesses on consumer web. Why haven't we done it in that direction for crypto?
Let me try to push back a little bit on this, because in my estimation, at least like mainstream gaming, or I don't know. So I would break gaming into different things, like mobile games versus, I don't know, Xbox games, something like that. Yeah. The games that have tried to integrate crypto or tokens, I don't feel like they've done very well.
Yeah.
In that regard. And so having the focus on the token in those games hasn't.
Yeah. So and actually game developers don't really want to focus on the token either, but they do want a reason for people to come play.
Okay.
And so that's like, and actually one of the other interesting things is most games don't work initially, right? And everyone in crypto is saying, where are all the fun games? Well, there's 100,000 fun games in the App Store. There's millions of games in the App Store. There's 100,000 great games in the App Store. But a lot of those developers don't have video game. Because what most people don't think about is if you can't make more money from a user than you spent on acquiring them, then your game will never get discovered anyway. So how many amazing games are there that are just waiting for a channel where people will actually play it? Maybe your game makes $2 per user, but you have to buy users for $3 per user. Your game will never see the light of day because it's not profitable to market it, right? But maybe we could provide a new channel, and then someone says, hey, you know what? This game is like a bodybuilding game. I could just like swap out a couple characters here, and that's GigaChat. And then suddenly they give the game a new life. They spent a year on it, and the GigaChat community doesn't need to convince them or give them a grant or anything. There's just assets sitting everywhere. The whole app store is littered with amazing content. There's so many games that are already out there that are looking for a way to be discovered. Discovery is the problem. It's not the problem. Everyone says the problem is making a fun game. There are tons of fun games. The problem is an asset someone cares about, a game that's great, and then connecting them. And asking people to do both, asking a game developer to do both is too much.
Yeah.
Most crypto assets fail. Most games fail. Why not just take the best games, take the best assets, and then give them some glue? That's what we're doing. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense. When token.
When token. Yeah. I mean,
Is there a token? Is there like a, how does,
why not?
Yeah.
Right? Like
Yeah.
it would, I mean, from our perspective, our goal here is to like have something that's community only governed, right? So that's the path. Like if we just move from like like an Apple to another company that's controlling too much, then we haven't solved the problem, have we? So like my perspective on this is like, my last company at Zynga, like it went very well. So we basically were one of the companies that defined what premium and mobile gaming is. I don't feel like I have to get involved in games again to just build a game that reaches a lot of players or makes a lot of money. But I do have some unfinished business on the side of like how games should be distributed and how people should to reward the game developers who are struggling, because I'm talking to thousands of them, people all across the world, like Pakistani game developers, everywhere you can imagine. People are trying to figure out how to get their game in front of people.
Yeah.
And then I'm talking to these token communities that are figuring out how do I remain relevant, and every single one of them wants a game, but they don't want to go fund it. They don't want to go build it. They want to wait for it to just happen, right?
Nor do they know how to.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't need to call up a miner and ask him to mine Bitcoin so that I can own it, right? That's why this hasn't worked yet, right? And everybody's had this sense that crypto and games go together. They fit like a glove, but no one wants to actually go do the work to go and build it or fund it or take the risk, right? So we hope that it just, like an ad network. Why do ad networks exist? Because smiling and dialing and calling up all the companies that might want to run ads on your website is very time consuming. It's very convenient to put in a Google ad network code and get the ads, right?
Yeah. Makes so much sense.
Yeah.
All right. Any last questions, David?
I guess the one question that came up just now is, so again, I probably don't have enough, not imagination, but I'm a very
But like a kind of guy.
It feels like this absolutely makes sense for like smaller mobile games. But would this really be useful or used for like AAA titles?
Yeah, I mean, everything big starts small.
Okay.
Right? So it's a very common mistake, not just in crypto, but everywhere, to like shoot a little bit too high, right?
Right.
So what I would say is like, if we get this working with a lot of small games, there's a very clear path to increasingly larger games and studios, because it's a very simple thing. Games are run on map. People outside of the industry don't think about it so much, but it's just simply, what is the cost of acquiring a user? What is the LTV in the game, the lifetime value of a customer? Is the cost of acquiring a user lower than the LTV? If so, plow the marketing money in. If this is a 10% lower marketing channel, we're now moving our spend to this.
Yeah.
If we come along and we say, you put $1 million here and earn a yield while you're getting users, it's
Okay. All right.
There's a lot of money. There's
I see, I see.
100 billion a year that's thinking about how to get good use out of the marketing money. I don't think we can service 100 billion a year
Right. Yeah.
tomorrow, but there's the demand for.
So we might see an explosion of fun games getting a new lease on life because of
Yes,
But also,
undiscovered games that existed that are amazing and are giving new life, or new games, right? Like, why not? I mean, Hardcoin could have a lot of great games.
well, like I can imagine once it's proven to work, and once there's all these examples of it working, why not the next COD, which is going to spend like whatever 200 million on everything over a couple of years?
Yeah.
Why don't they spend 5-10% of the budget on this?
Why not? Why not take a flyer on it, see how it goes, especially once it's proven? It's just another channel, right? We're not. Yeah,
Gotcha. Exactly. Awesome.
All right, Justin. Any last thoughts? Where can people find you?
We will be announcing more very shortly. Our Twitter account may look a little bit, our X account may look quiet, I guess. There's not a lot of posting going on, but you just heard most of it. So now you know what's coming. Yeah, there's some very big and interesting launches coming on Solana with top tokens that people have heard of. So I think it's going to be fun. If nothing else, we need more experimentation in the space. So our goal is to actually try to solve a problem that's important to a lot of people that we have some experience in on the gaming side, and hopefully we're able to do.
Okay, great.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Awesome.